Don't touch that tile.
We're going to do the.
I already did. Guess you already did.
Assumes no responsibility for something. And the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show.
Pentagon says no corroboration. The chop has been chopped. We'll talk baseball rules and a whole lot more. The brother man joins us as well. All that coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
The brother man.
Hi, YouTube. Good morning.
How are you?
Well,
Are you?
yes, and you?
Good. Now, you Canadians never miss a great opportunity to lift a glass.
No.
And you look amazingly chipper for a man who celebrated, no doubt, Canada Day yesterday.
You know what?
How is that?
Probably the least celebrated Canada Day in my lifetime.
Raucous. What is Canada Day? We never talked about Canada Day. Is it
Well,
a
let's do this and
celebration
then let's get to
of
that.
independence from somebody?
Not sort of.
Victoria area weather brought to you by Wade and Carter. It is 81 degrees in Victoria under cloudy skies. They're going to burn off quickly. It'll be 96 degrees and sunny this afternoon. Enjoy the day.
Enjoy the day. So on July 1st, 1867, Canada was born as a country.
Was that when, so President Lincoln at the time, no, it wouldn't have been him because he was dead. But some Republican freed, liberated Canada. Is that what happened?
No.
You became a country because England relinquished they were too busy to come fight for Canada? What happened?
No, that didn't happen either.
We had to whip their butts to get free.
Technically, well, yeah. But Canada's always been a peaceful people.
Right. We call that soft in South Texas, but I'm with you. I'm with you. How did they negotiate that deal? Well, they decided that it's the biggest.
Well, no, what happened was Canada, Britain, and France had arrived in Canada and had fought over that piece of turf.
For years.
What is now modern day Ontario was known as Upper Canada, and what is Quebec was Lower Canada. And I don't know can't really remember all the reasons why. It's been a few years.
It's a socialist country. We don't spend a lot of time on history.
No, we learn more about China,
right,
in social studies, honestly, and the wonderful wisdom of communism.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, well, or maybe that was by my Soviet indoctrination. I don't remember.
So it's 153 years. Canada's been a country.
It has been, yes.
Did they have
But we didn't really.
Yeah.
3 years ago, they did big fireworks at
on
Parliament Hill and all that. Interestingly enough, though, Canada really didn't actually become its own country until, I think, 1981 with the Constitution Act.
Ronald Reagan fixed that for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you're trying to tie American history.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, there's no Canada without the United States. That's just the way I feel about it. I don't really know anything other than what I'm trying to do is stir something up with you, but there's no real logic to what I'm saying.
No, I know there's none at all, and you see, it just doesn't irritate me.
No,
like you're hoping it would.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just kind of like
try to stir the hornet's nest.
Because at the end of the day,
there's no hornets in here.
At the end of the day, there's nothing like that rowdy Canadian pride. You just say there's no Canada without the United States, and you just go, I'm sorry. Now Terry Poole calling. I'm going to come over there and beat your head.
No, we just do what we've done for 153 years. Basically, ignore the boasty, bratty neighbors to the south.
Exactly. I understand. Check us out. See who's coming in. Who's in here today?
The Iceman is first one in.
Hey, attaboy,
Christina Wise. Good morning, Adam Daughtry, Bobby Leister. Scott Tomko, 65 YouTube subscribers, Bobby.
But we had 8.
We had more people view it yesterday than
How
ever.
about
So
that?
there
8.
you go. That's got to be because Facebook kicked us off.
Yeah, people went to YouTube as a fallback.
Karen Webb checking in, David Glass, Robin Moore Knipling, Rena Scherer, good morning, CW Bean, Marvin Mickish.
Hello, Rena.
Brent's got to explain the T-Man lunch. I was going to ask you that. So
I
we'll
can
get to
do
that.
that.
Chris Conrad, good morning to you. Jeremy Pena, Chris Jansen, Mike Bloschke, H.R. Mallory, Jeremy Pena. I think I said that already. Patrick Strauss.
Jeremy's excited about the new mask revisions.
There's Brent Anderson checking in. My beautiful wife,
Hello,
Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Larry Leahy. There's Jake Dub.
J-Dub. Love him.
Judge Posey, Adam Daughtry, Jimbo Slice.
Hello, Judge.
Did they have fireworks? You know, I don't know. I didn't see any shots. I didn't see anybody showing videos of fireworks from Canada Day yesterday. So I don't know. They probably didn't allow them.
Maybe J-Dub could call in and give us a Canada Day. He's more of a, if you're a Canadian, are you a patriot? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, he's more probably pro-Canada than you are.
No, that's it.
You've acclimated. You've given up. You've clearly given up on your physical appearance, and now you're just an American Slav. You're a Slavish. You were a Slavic. Now you're a Slavish. You're a Slavic American. You've given up. It's over.
Glenn Ives, Adam Daughtry asks, how do you postpone the 4th of July?
You don't.
We don't.
Now, I like the idea a lot, by the way, of just celebrating the 4th of July, Independence Day. July 4th, clearly the date that we've assigned to the independence of the United States. You know, the Declaration of Independence was signed over several years, people. It's not like they all went into that one room, lifted a glass, and said, hooray. The reality is July 4th Independence Day should probably always be celebrated on a Friday. Why not? Have a long weekend every year. When July 4th is on a Wednesday, you take, Tuesday night, everybody goes out and gets loaded, watches a bunch of fireworks on Wednesday with a hangover, and then goes to work and is unproductive on a Thursday.
And then
it's not
mails
American.
it in on Friday.
Yeah, it's not American. It'd be better to have the celebration itself on a Friday every year.
And I'm convinced it's July 4th just because it's in the summer. It would make way more sense. And same thing with Canada. If you really wanted to educate the people in your country, they would have moved it to the school year, and they could have built a whole unit of history and social studies around it, right?
No, we've got an entire movement in this country to de-escalate anything that revolves around our history, unless it is reparations for past sins. Now, if you have the curse of being a white American, you still suck. But anybody else who's ever done anything else, we want to forget that because we're moving forward as a country. But we're going to drag the baggage of every Anglo sin with us everywhere we go.
J-Dub says there were virtual fireworks.
That's really, what is that?
Jimbo Slice is like the fireplace on the channel on Christmas time.
You see them? Well, though, in Amsterdam, they probably just, or in Vancouver, they just ate a bunch of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And, hey, look at the fireworks.
It's probably
a lot of truth, right? Cool,
truth.
Man. Look at the sky.
Look at that big orange one up there. That's
Wow.
the fireworks never burn out.
I can't look at it very long. It hurts my eyes. What a great fireworks show.
Steve Kidder, good morning.
Hello, Stephen. I haven't seen Steve Kidder lately. I wonder if a guy like Steve Kidder, does he worry about his barrister skills eroding? I mean, he's a courtroom lawyer. Like when he walks in the door,
we're keeping in Canada Day. Is he a barrister or a solicitor?
Barrister argues the point, right? Solicitor works for the court. Am I right?
I don't know. I just know on signs in Canada, they sometimes say barristers and solicitors. And I never knew what the difference was.
What's interesting is when Steve Kidder walks into the courtroom, the courtrooms there they're old. But when he walks in, you hear, boom, boom, boom. It always has that Law and Order music. When the door opens and he walks in, boom, boom, boom. You know, like that. It ain't like Judge Judy. I mean, he ain't messing around.
Here's the thing, and J-Dub brings up a point with the Calgary Stampede, because we always had fireworks on July 4th, and then the Calgary Stampede has a huge fireworks show every night during the 10 days the Stampede is on. J-Dub says they're going to have fireworks on the 3rd and the 12th this year for the non-Stampede. They're still going to do some big fireworks displays, so that's good. And there's a hill that overlooks, Scotchman's Hill overlooks the Stampede grounds. That was where we always used to go and watch the fireworks fire off.
Victoria decided to postpone their fireworks because apparently going outside and looking up at the sky is somehow going to give you COVID.
Well, first there was going to be like a drive-in, right? You could park your car.
Right.
And I guess they're worried that nobody's going to stay in their car. I don't know.
Because Victoria is anarchish. But if you want to have a rally and riot or walk down the street, well, we'll put out law enforcement for you. But if you're a law-abiding guy and you want to take your family out and watch the fireworks, we've decided as a government that we know better for you and your family. You just stay home and wear your mask. But now, hey, if you want to go have a protest, we're all about that here in good old Victoria. Come on down to the Patty Dodson Center, gather around, and let's go complain about things together. But don't you look up because somebody might fire a Roman candle. Do you see the hypocrisy of government, people?
I'm guessing our police will be busier responding to fireworks calls in the city limits on July 4th than they would have been. And I've understood. We've postponed them in the past because of weather and things like that. But yeah, I don't know.
And by the way, I want to go ahead and I'm going to emphasize something for you folks this morning. I don't just like Raleigh McCoy. I really like Raleigh McCoy a lot. So when I decide to make fun of government or make fun of the office of mayor or whatever, I promise you that my friend Raleigh McCoy knows and chuckles along that I'm not making fun of Raleigh McCoy individually. I like Raleigh. I'm just telling you that some of the stuff that comes out of City Hall is ridiculous, which is why I bothered to run for mayor to begin with. It's ridiculous. And he knows it. It gets caught. They get caught between a rock and a hard place, and nobody really has the chutzpah to step up and say, this is stupid. We're not doing it. So everybody, in the name of getting reelected or trying to placate or being friendly or just not wanting to rock the boat, they all kind of acquiesce to the easiest common denominator. And the easiest common denominator is most often stupid. Somebody's got to make a decision. Somebody's got to make something happen.
Path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance is usually a bad path. Mike Blasky, is that? Oh, that's Matt Boucher. That's
Heather Monroe's in. So if you Scott Tomko, line for testing was no different than lines for the bathroom at the fireworks.
Absolutely. That's exactly. You got a bunch, and I'm sorry, call them what they are. You know, and I kind of get sometimes, and you people give me feedback, and I love to get the feedback. It's my nature to say all those people congregating shoulder to shoulder to get tested, they're boneheads. That's my nature. Hey, you're a bonehead. You're down here rubbing shoulders with people you don't know who apparently they think they've got COVID. And then we wonder why the numbers spike.
You're worried about COVID, but you'll go and mingle and stand amongst a bunch of people without the social distancing.
Right. Makes you a bonehead. And then when I do that, well, I wish Brent wouldn't bash people. I'm not bashing people. I'm just pointing out, really trying to make you think. Because at the end of the day, I call that social Darwinism. If all those idiots go down there and stand elbow to elbow and they all get sick and they all die, society may actually benefit. Just saying, because they won't reproduce other boneheads. Just the way it is.
I joked about it, but if it's free, Victoria will line up and damn the social distancing and the personal safety measures because there was nobody down there Friday when it was still free, but it was raining. And
They
that
all
tells
remind
me-
you to buy toilet paper.
That tells me it wasn't about your health and your safety and finding out if you had COVID. It was because it was free and the weather was nice on Thursday.
That's absolutely
And it was
right.
still free on Friday, but it was rainy and there was nobody there because I knew people that actually had to go get the test
That's right.
because they had been exposed and they waltzed right in on Friday without having to wait for anybody. And the process was very well orchestrated and organized.
Oh, I'm convinced if I advertised right now that I knew that I was COVID positive and I'm going to give it to you for free. I'll give you coronavirus free at the Patty Dodson parking lot at 3:00 this afternoon. There'd be half a dozen people show up. Go, what is it? Can I get it? There's Bobcat Wadley. Somebody gave you a paragraph up above. Is it long? Is it Jim? Oh, it's Jimbo.
Jimbo Slice, some trivia info on Independence Day. It's been a federal holiday since 1941.
So that would have been, it was declared a federal holiday before Pearl Harbor. Think about that, because that was December 7th of 41.
On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence. And 2 days later, delegates from the 13 colonies adopted the Declaration of Independence. So thank you for the Cliff Notes version.
It's been a national
history.
holiday. It became a national holiday after the fighting Texas Aggies won their last national championship in football in 1939, which coincided with Hitler's invasion of Poland. That's when the Aggies were last
Coincidental?
relevant. Yeah, I don't know.
There's one with Goggle checking in.
It was a team of all white men, 1939. Aryan. Just saying.
Heather Monroe, good morning.
Got
Christina
it.
Wise asked why it wasn't a drive-through testing. I believe the National Guard were in charge of it, and they say it's way more efficient. They can get more done.
So
If people would have just social distanced, we wouldn't be making fun of it.
right. Update on Kyle. You know, my middle kid, Kyle, had tested positive. He was down in the valley working internship at a bank. Co-worker was positive. Kyle goes in. First of all, he immediately quarantined for a week. Finally figured out where to get a test. The bank wanted to send him. They paid for it. Have no idea what that cost. He went and took the test. They said, hey, guess what? You're positive. He said, really? He goes, I feel great. I mean, I've just been tanning and working out and hitting the pool. And this COVID deal is good for him, except for the pay's not so great.
Yeah.
So then I asked him, I go, when do you, he goes, well, I've got to get a retest, Dad. I've got to retest and show that I've got the antibodies and I'm not positive anymore. And I said, well, where do you do that? And he goes, don't know. Haven't figured that out yet. I said, well, why can't you go back to where you were? He goes, because they only do original tests. They don't do retest. I go, well, can't you just show up and they can test you and see if you've got it still? No, it doesn't work that way. So it's not the most efficient deal. And of course, that's the valley. The Rio Grande Valley is notoriously backwards.
I still don't understand, though, how we couldn't have had the drive-in fireworks. Fireworks only. No booths. No porta potties.
Just pee in your car.
If you have to, you have to, I
I
guess.
believe-
But that, to me, that would have, I think, might have solved the problems of people getting out of their vehicles and congregating, because you would have had no music. You would have had no food booths. You would have had no lineups for porta potties.
You could have like a sniper. You back in the car.
Drive in. Fireworks are going to go off at 8:45, 9 o'clock, 9:15, whatever, I guess, or set a time. 9:30 fireworks are going off.
Right.
People would start rolling in about 9 o'clock. Right? They'd park somewhere close, maybe in the community center, watch the fireworks, and they'd leave. Because if you don't have music, if you don't have the entertainment that you always have, if you don't have food booths, food trucks, and you don't have porta potties, nobody's going to get out of the car and nobody's going to show up 5 hours early because they were not going to be able to do anything.
Correct. I don't know. There's a lot of reactive management of situations.
I would save the money and do a twice as big a show next year. Putting on a fireworks display for Independence Day in the middle of August kind of loses its emphasis and the point, doesn't it?
Well, and make no mistake, they'll find some way to sabotage Boot Fest now. We'll never have Boot Fest, but let's just say that we did. You do that fireworks display at Boot Fest.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean,
Let's have the 20-minute show next year be twice as big.
40-minute show.
No, more in 20 minutes. That's what I'm saying. 40-minute fireworks. A 40-minute fireworks show would be too much.
Can you do a little Lee Greenwood?
No.
If tomorrow the things are... Huh?
No, I don't.
I'd rather
Not a
do the
fan of that
fireworks
song.
show. I know. The first 3,000 times it was pretty good. But I'm hurt for home. I'd like to hear it sounds.
And I think here's the problem I have with the song. It's now treated as an anthem. They
Right.
play it in stadiums and people stand and the hats are off and it's not an anthem. I have problems when you anthemize songs that aren't an anthem.
I agree with that. I want to change, like the words should change. I'm glad I'm not a Canadian. I mean,
See, that's how Canadians sing it.
right.
I'm proud I'm not an American.
That's so fun.
I remember when that song came out in
And I think
1981.
I have VD. I mean,
And that song came out in 1981, I think, right? Somewhere around
Yeah.
there. That's how we sang it as kids.
oh yeah,
I'm proud I'm not an American.
that's so
Bring back some memories.
American indie. It's American indie. It's just because we. Folks, Allen's Record Service couldn't even help us today. 578-6300. Allen's Record Service will come out, secure your scene.
Christina Wise says, proudly stand up next to you. Nope, 6 feet away.
Right.
Got to change the lyrics to be
Proud of
COVID friendly.
social distance from you. Wearing my little mask. Allen's Record Service, folks, 578-6300. You know what to do. If the car won't go, give it a tow. Give it Allen a call, and he'll come get you and help you out. The VCS Company's Rocket Oilfield Services, and the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer, all part of the Hartman Communication Empire. Fantastic folks. These days, you need to call them and tell them Wade and Carter sent you and tell them you need a security system. Because if you don't have a security system, you do need one. You need monitoring. You need the Video Doorbell Pro. You need the 1080p color camera that you can mount on the eave of your house. And
What'd you find out with the guy that was roaming around your neighborhood?
folks, we don't comment on ongoing investigations, but I will tell you that there are things that lead us to believe that person worked for Suddenlink.
Okay.
But we're at this point, we're trying not to overly calm the community.
Because somebody's camera saw the Suddenlink sign on the side of the vehicle.
There could be a different angle, the reverse angle replay that shows us that the vehicle did say Suddenlink, but that did not disrupt the mass hysteria of our little white bread cul-de-sac. So you have that going on. SCT Building Systems, Clayton and Casey Helt will come out and they'll help you define and refine your ideas. You want to build a barn dominium, but you don't know how to do it. They can help you. You can add on to it. It doesn't just have to be 40 by 60. There can be a lean-to. There could be a garage. There could be a she shed out off the back corner. All of those things are available to you. Clayton and Casey can make it work. 564-8864. And, of course, Chesnick Furniture Company will furnish that for you because Chesnick and Love make your house a home. You just do better at Chesnick. Go down and see Bobby Leon and his family at 116 West Wanley on the corner of Wanley and Bridge in always sunny, clear sky, downtown Victoria.
Heather Monroe says, Brent, we all know you just want to be a Canadian.
You know, deep inside, there's a part of me that would like to go up there, but I don't know if I could assimilate. It is interesting to me. It's the whole the French Canadians, the Canadians within the pods within. And like your area, Calgary is more like Texas, more rural, and there's oil production,
Ranching and oil are the
ranching.
two big industries in Alberta.
And I get it, but I think that makes it. I think what unites Canada is probably hockey. I mean, you got the Canadiens against the Flames, and even if it's a mutual disdain, the thing that unites you folks is your love of hockey is such a great sport. I don't know what a guy from Calgary has in common with a guy from Quebec. If you're honest, you guys made fun of the little French guys. You know you did. And the French, they think they're superior to you. And the French in Montreal, they're just like
You're
French
spot on.
people.
You're spot on with the stereotypes.
Yeah, they're French people without art. They got nothing. So yeah, the French think they're smarter than you and better than you. They think you're a redneck, and you think they're all punks. And truth is, you're probably both right.
Probably so.
It's my thought, folks. When I can share the video, do us a favor as well.
Johnny Houghton says he sums it up best. Poutine unites Canada,
Right,
and two other things.
cheese curds.
Well, that's poutine.
Okay,
Can't have
good.
poutine without cheese curds. Otherwise, it's just fries and gravy.
There you go. So, folks, the things these people eat. I'm sorry,
Have you ever tried fries with brown gravy?
not since I met Dawn.
Okay. Next time she's not around,
I went to the Dixie Chicken once and had some fries with cream gravy on it, and it was
it's
just
not the same.
phenomenal.
It's not the same. You have to have beef gravy on fries.
Okay, well, I didn't know it. I had erred in my.
You won't get cream gravy on your fries in Canada. Just won't happen. Won't happen. And it's not poutine until you throw the cheese curds on.
Right. So the cheese curds, are they like? What is the texture? Is it like eating? It's not a piece of cheese. It's like
Basically, it's I think it's the byproduct of making cheese. I think, right? I don't know.
the slag.
I always call it squeaky cheese because when you bite it's got a little squeak
that
to it.
stuff.
It's like the bigger chunks in cottage cheese.
Oh,
I know I'm not a cottage cheese fan,
does it
but I
give
can
you
eat.
gas?
I can eat
Curds
poutine.
give you gas?
No,
The curds. I mean,
curds and whey.
unbelievable.
Heather Monroe asks, how about Newfie fries? You know, I don't know that I've ever had Newfie fries.
What do you order them? You get them an hour and a half later?
You know,
Is that what that is?
that's exactly.
You go to McDonald's and they go, here's your Big Mac. Come back in an hour and a half for your Newfie fries.
The only thing I've ever had out of Newfoundland was Screech, and that is the most vile, disgusting tasting booze you could ever have. But boy, does it get you messed up fast.
Screech.
It's how they
That's like
survive
you-
living on the rock.
The things they name stuff there.
Dressing and brown gravy.
Deer.
What kind of dressing? Are we talking like the dressing that, because that's different. We call stuffing as dressing in Canada. Like when you do turkey and dressing?
But the towns.
Or are we talking ranch dressing?
I mean, Bucks Nuts, Alberta. I mean, you know, the things that you people name stuff, it's like you're a different country up there. I don't understand. It's like,
We are a different.
it's just like, wow. It's like, you know, you think in your mind that you're going to a normal place. It's not. Where are you from? Bucks Nuts. Really? I mean, it's just craziness. In celebration of Canada Day, we're kind of razzing our Canadian friends. You know,
I think I could eat Newfie
Bucks
fries.
Nuts, you
No,
could do it. Would you just stir fry them? What would you do with that?
Pan fry them in garlic butter.
See, you have an answer. That's what troubles me. Do you slice them first or after? Or you just eat them whole?
Just depends how you like them.
Oh,
If you want them cooked a little more, you got to slice them. If you don't,
Right.
if you want them a little
al
chewier,
dente.
you don't slice them.
Wow.
Call them prairie oysters in Alberta.
Come on, Brent. You're just jealous. You know, there's a lot of truth in that. I am.
The boiled whiskey is still the best. See, that's an old,
Boiled whiskey.
yeah, that's a Christmas. I introduced that to the neighborhood on Clydesdale one Christmas, and
I'm sure that went
they've
well.
embraced it since.
Clifford and Teresa.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and Marvin was there.
Oh, Marvin Lott. Well, one thing
Marvin
I know.
Mickish, Ryan Lott was there too.
Oh, Ryan Lott. That's what I meant.
I think I could get into the Newfie fries with stuffing, brown gravy on fries. Oh, that'd be pretty darn good.
Mm.
I could eat that.
I'll tell you what. Folks, I'm sorry.
This has become July 2nd is our annual Canada
That's
Day
our
show from
Canada
now
Day
on.
show from now on. We'll talk about it. What's your
I
take
tell you
on-
what screwed up Canada Day for a bunch of Canadians yesterday. The fact that the NHL, with them dragging out their seasons,
That's where I was going.
Canada Day is usually the day of free agency,
Right.
and it's a day of activity of players signing and maybe the fact that this year's free agent crop isn't that exciting. But because the NHL season hasn't ended yet,
Gretzky staying in place with the Islanders.
free agency
He's gonna stay.
Free agency hasn't happened yet.
And what is that they say? How the game has changed. I mean, Gretzky would probably only score like 80 goals a season now. Of course, he's 60 years old, but
that would be it.
He could still probably skate.
Oh man. Jimbo Slice asked what was the big thing that we left on a cliffhanger yesterday. Well, I'll get to that in a second because the Pentagon says there's no corroborating evidence of Russia offering
reminding us.
bounties
how
for
about
Americans. That? Yet we had two former service people who served over there. We had the corroborating evidence on our show the other day. They said, oh, yeah, everybody knew that they were bounties.
Sure.
That's how you got the Taliban to fight and Afghans to fight because they were so poor. They would do anything for money.
I think that's interesting that it's such a standard way of life that, it was thrown out there to appall the American public and then they could blame Trump for it.
I don't think anything that Putin and the Russians do can appall the American public anymore.
I agree. I did hear a guy just very thoughtfully, and he may be right. This guy may be right. He said that Putin really is just amused by Donald Trump. He's an old line former KGB guy. He's a
highly you need to know right there, right?
Highly intelligent, highly focused on military strategy and the ramifications of his actions. Whereas Donald Trump, maybe it's something that endears him to you, but something about Donald Trump is he's not an old school military historian. He's not a guy who really, it doesn't appear, often thinks of the ramifications of his words. He's a guy who kind of shoots from the hip. A guy like Putin is designed to destroy a man like Donald Trump by training. So when the Pentagon comes up and says, hey, look, we ain't buying this garbage out of Russia. We're not buying it. Then you know what? It kind of gives it some credibility because those guys are trained to compete with a man like Putin.
And here's the thing. It's a New York Times report that's getting traction. This is the New York Times that ran with the Steele dossier and the entire Mueller report fake narrative of collusion. They can't let it go.
Right.
Their disdain for this president is so obvious. And if he wasn't briefed on something that was going on, how does that become his fault?
Absolutely. By the way, I do want to mention this one because I've got a point. I've got one. I want to give a shout out this morning to Natalie Abramite is becoming the principal, voted on by the school board, becoming the principal at Patty Welder. And depending on, I think the first name is David. I can't be positive. The last name is either Flinner or Fleener, depending on which
spelling was correct
in the Advocate, because it's like he was called Flinner twice, but only Fleener once. Even I don't think they were wrong 2 out of 3. So I bet his name is Flinner. And the gentleman is taking over for Debbie Crick at West High School. Debbie's going to work for Region 3. I only mention the academics to give you folks the illusion that I care about academics, because the big news is my friend and highly qualified, once again, Quentin Shepard showing that he is the smartest guy in the room. Spencer Gant has been named the athletic director. He'll replace Bobby Jackwright. And it was just a perfect transition. When Spencer went into the AD's office, he's been an athletic director before, but at a much smaller area. And for him to go in and work with Bobby Jackwright for a year was just perfect tutelage, and it's worked out great. And I couldn't be more happy for Spencer and his family, and he's a fantastic addition to the VISD management team.
Congrats to him.
Yeah, good for him.
Working with him on some things.
Yeah, and he's a great guy. He's a pro sports, pro kid, pro character kind of person. He's going to demand
And a former
excellence.
coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he gets it.
Yeah. He's a good one.
Andy Schneider, good morning to you.
Schneider. Now, if you say that with SCH, is it SCH? Yes, it's Schneider. Not Snyder, like SNYDER.
No,
Schneider.
You got to get the SCH in there.
What does that mean when they say get off the schneid? What is that? The schneid is kind of like you're on a slump.
Yeah,
You're on a
you're
slump,
slumping.
right?
Yeah.
Slump buster.
James Prince says U.S. unemployment rate lowered to 11.1. We're getting there, folks.
We're getting there. It's interesting. The first quarter of the year showed the largest decline since 2008 in the United States economy in the stock market. And the second quarter of the year posted the highest increase in the history of the stock market. Now, in the history of the stock market doesn't excite me that much because back 50 years ago, it went from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
But now it goes from 26,000 to 39,001. So the biggest increase is relative. But it just shows that the economy went down, the economy came back, which reemphasizes we had a fundamentally solid economy at the time that the Democrats in China sabotaged the country.
There's my mom checking in.
Hi, Aunt Tina. Hope you're doing
My
well.
mom. You missed Caldo Wednesday yesterday.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
We talked about it, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We talked about it, but you missed it. You were out of town.
I didn't go. Yes, sir. Did you go?
I did not. No.
Today's a great day.
My daughter Ashton basically made us Caldo at home last night for supper.
Basically, you can't make Gringo Caldo. You gotta call that
It was
out.
close.
You can't.
It was basically, well, okay, Gringo Caldo. Otherwise,
It had a lot of celery and
For us,
potato.
cabbage soup.
Right there, you go. There you go. Gringo Caldo. It's borscht.
It wasn't quite borscht. There were no beets. Hey, look at Pete Montana coming in with content.
Pete Montana brings it. What does he say? Read
Says,
it verbatim. Read it
Wikipedia
verbatim.
says to get off the schneid means to break a scoreless, hitless, or winless streak, i.e. a schneid.
Okay.
According to the Dixon Baseball Dictionary, the term schneid comes to baseball via gin rummy, and in turn comes from German Yiddish Schneider, one who cuts cloth, i.e. a tailor.
I did not
I
know
did
that.
not know that. Thank you.
Sounds like Johnny Carson. I did not know that.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate
Pete
that.
Montana, by the way, and Ash, it reminds me that words matter because that was just like a flippant aside. You and I were just trying to give some homage to the Schneider. And the next thing you know, we give value to our listeners.
Courtesy of Pete Montana.
Well, that's Pete Montana.
So
I wonder if Peter says, say hello to my little friend. I couldn't pass it up.
I wonder how many people have said that to Pete over time,
Right.
and he's probably so sick of hearing it.
Yeah. Well, we don't claim to be original.
No,
We're just trying
just
to.
the
I'm
latest.
so glad that Pete didn't hear all the garbage we were talking about Canada Day, or that I was. I would never be disrespectful to Pete. He's not even really Canadian, though, right? He's out on the island, out on the west. He's like more of a Pacific Island guy.
Nah, he cut his chops in Calgary.
Doesn't he wear like
He's
a
a good-
Hawaiian shirt to do his show though? He's out.
Well, he does now,
He's
but
on
this
the
is a guy that hockey coach, rodeo expert.
Yes.
I mean, he's if you could embody Canadian, it's Pete Montana.
Hockey coach,
Rodeo guy,
expert,
lover of the CFL.
cheese curd eater.
Yep.
Probably has a French accent. Bam, right there. The consummate Canadian. Hello.
No French accent.
Hey, Pete Montana.
We're in Clayton
So,
Myers.
skip to Veracruz today. 576-6015.
Yeah, you
Veracruz.
can get it to go. They'll deliver as
You can
well.
get it to go. JP Hull probably wishes we wouldn't mention him in the middle of all this bit, but Razor IT Solutions is just that, a solution-based company for you and your analytics, your website, your payment, your ability to receive money over the internet. That's always a good thing. Reach out to JP and Razor IT Solutions. The ads and offer dealership since 1926.
They've been in Victoria selling Victorians and all of South Texas, the cars they want, for 94 years.
Yeah, and the cars you want.
And the cars you need.
Clearly, they have found the nerve of Victoria. They know what you want. Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi. They service all makes and models.
Sell all sorts of pre-owned.
Great paint and body shop. White Trash Service is White Trash Services.
There's an S on the end
Apologize,
of
that
that.
last S got me.
6 counties expanding into the Rockport Holiday Beach region very soon with routes down there. So, I mean, or routes for Canadians, because that's how.
Okay.
So,
550-1826. Reach out to the living, breathing person that answers the phone at White Trash Services. You will be glad you did.
we missed something yesterday. It was Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yeah, what a deal for Bobby Bonilla. What a great agent he had.
The
What a
Mets,
great way to
yeah.
think.
The Mets, in case you don't know this, he was being overpaid by the Mets. They wanted to free up some salary space, so they had him restructure his contract, and he basically gets $1 million and change every July 1 for, I think it was like 26 years or something like that,
Yeah.
right? So yesterday was Bobby Bonilla Day, and he's still getting paid out for another, I think, 15 more years or something.
It's
It's crazy.
a beautiful thing because every year on July the 1st, it's over $1 million. They write him a check.
Almost 1.2 million.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting about that?
And he's not the only one. Rick DiPietro, who played in the NHL, has a similar deal. He gets $1 million and change every July 1 from now until I don't know when. Another.
But those are Canadian dollars, which is like $68.
No, I think it's from the New York Islanders. There's a theme here. Bonilla gets paid from the Mets. DiPietro gets paid from the Islanders. New York sports team owners don't have a flipping clue what they're doing.
It's like New York trying to pay off a credit card.
Yeah.
We owed him $8 million, but we'll pay him $1 million a year for the next 46 years.
And somehow, believe it or not, the Mets come out the winner on this one.
Yeah, well, it freed up salary space,
Yeah.
which, by the way, did not allow them to win another World Series that they haven't won since he was there.
69?
Yeah. It is interesting that Bobby gets that money, but one thing to think about, I wonder if when he negotiated that, if he anticipated the increase in taxes that we've seen. You know, because by the time, if New York takes their cut.
Well, if he's not living in New York anymore, he's probably okay.
I wonder, though, I wonder if he's susceptible to New York's taxes because he was on the New York team. At any rate, he's not worried about where his next cheeseburger's coming from.
No, and Bobby, from all,
Pretty sharp guy.
yeah, and wasn't an idiot with his money.
Right.
I mean, he was still making, I think, $6 million a year back then, even after he renegotiated that thing.
Bob Wiley
That's
says he'll be
super good.
75 or 6 on his last check.
So,
Good morning, H.R. Mallory.
so we'll get to this. Des Moines Register had a
Is this the cliffhanger?
this is the cliffhanger that I had actually forgot about. So glad HR reminded me. Donald Bolkin wrote I guess a guest column or an op-ed piece in the Des Moines Register the other day. And I'll give you a little bit of his background so you kind of understand where he's coming from on this. He is a retired administrative law judge with the Iowa Department of Inspections and Appeals. He also worked for 7 years at the Iowa Civil Rights Commission and the Cedar Rapids Human Rights Commission as an investigator, and 21 years as an administrative law judge at the Iowa Civil Rights Commission.
So if anything, this guy's left-leaning to me. I mean, this guy's he's a do-gooder. He's out there working on the civil rights left.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so he wrote an op-ed, and it goes into a couple of propositions, and I won't get into them, but it talks about stereotypes and how one incident or interaction can bias you with a stereotype, and it represents such a small fraction of the people that you've now lumped in to the stereotype. So that's how he starts the article. And, and he says they're never true for the group as a whole. And I'm going to read some of this because I think it's important that it doesn't get lost in the context. He says stereotypes are used to justify discrimination and violence. And it showed, and let's see here.
Are you thinking about reading out loud? Or
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the point here.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were just going to read for yourself. I mean, it's the day after Canadian Day, Canada Day. I don't want to upset you.
No, and here we go. A 2016 Harvard researcher study found that Black people are no more likely to be killed by police officers than are white people. A 2019 study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found no evidence of anti-black disparities across fatal shootings by police. Both white and black people are far more likely to be murdered by an acquaintance of their own race than they are to be shot dead by the police.
Oh, I believe that 100%. You're much more likely to be shot by a white guy than you are by a random police officer.
There are millions of interactions between black people and police annually, including about 2 million arrests. In 2019, and he quotes Washington Post numbers here, 1,004 people, mostly white, were shot dead by the police. Assuming that an average of one police officer was involved per killing, then 1,004 police officers, or 0.14% of America's 700,000 police officers, were involved in the fatal police shootings. Obviously, the typical police officer will never kill anyone in his career. A Washington Post database shows that 14 blacks and 25 white, quote, unarmed Americans were shot dead by police in 2019.
14 blacks and 25 whites. Now, see, one thing there's a lot more white people. So 14 to 25, there's not 25 white people for every 14 black people. There's probably 500. So in that regard, it seems like black people are being shot at a higher percentage rate unarmed than white people.
And he says that the odds of any unarmed person being shot dead by police are less than their odds of being struck by lightning.
Absolutely.
Is how he sums it up. And there's a little bit more in here because he goes into an analysis that Tucker Carlson did of 10 of the killings in 2019, quote, unarmed black people killed by police. But it showed in 10 of them, what Tucker Carlson revealed in this article was that calling them unarmed was misleading. 2 had cars, 1 had a stun gun, the other 2 had guns.
Right. Think about this, Ash. If I walk out, let's say that I've got mental illness, which I know is not much of a stretch for you folks. But if I walk out and the police are talking to me and it's dark and I'm wearing a jacket and I go and I say, that's it. And I reach into my coat and police shoot me as I pull a banana out, right? I'm just pulling out something and they shoot me. That goes in the books as police shooting an unarmed person.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean police shot somebody they didn't think were armed. The likelihood in this country, in all honesty, of you doing absolutely nothing and getting shot by police just doesn't exist. The reality is, when these situations happen, it's maybe like George Floyd. He deserved to be arrested. He deserved to be detained. He just didn't deserve to be killed.
Well, I don't know the law in Minnesota. Could they simply written him a citation for passing a bad 20? I don't know. So, yeah, I will post a link to this article on the Wade and Carter Facebook page after the show. But
a trusted international media source.
I thought it was a very interesting article that pointed out the facts. And it just shows you that facts are absolutely ignored when it comes to the media and the narrative, because the facts do not bear out the narrative and the outrage and the narrative that police are out there killing unarmed people, right, and more proportionally unarmed black people just because they're the police.
And just because they're black. That's what they want you to believe, that they're getting killed just because they're black. It's the problem that we have is the narrative is driven by emotion. And there's a lot of imposed guilt, and the emotions get in the way of the facts. In fact, there's very few people listening right now, even though they may agree with the facts. We're being labeled insensitive by talking about this. We're not sensitive because people are dying, people are hurting, and Wade and Carter don't care. That would be the media's narrative. Local radio show ignores plight. That would be the headline. In the Advocate, it would say Wade and Carter suck, and they would spell it WEDEKARTER. Weed and Carter.
So I thought it was an interesting somewhat eye-opening article when you actually break down the facts and get to, or what the article breaks down and gets to the facts
But
of the
when you
matter.
do that, then what is the response from? I mean, in the world, the response would be, "You're missing the point. People are hurting. I don't care what the numbers say. People are being shot. It's bad. We've got to go riot and protest." It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate deal. Let's take our last break, and then look.
Heather Monroe says, why else are you talking about it? If you didn't care, you wouldn't talk about it.
No, that's true. That's
Thank
a
you.
good point.
Very good point.
That's right. Roy Keister checks in.
Final break.
Uncle
Brother
Barbecue.
Man's sitting here waiting.
I was going to say, we're going to put the heat on the brother.
Yeah, we
because
will.
If we play this right, he says he's bringing it. And one thing about Brother Gary, he's a competitor. He's a competitor. And we promoted him today. A living legend.
Thank you, sir.
Still with us
I'm with you.
after all these years. Brother Gary.
Still with you.
We could press Brother Gary back into the classroom, make him teach some history.
Yeah, that's right.
He knows it.
He doesn't want back in the classroom.
Where else can you get firsthand history where he can tell you where he was during the Revolutionary War, where he was when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation? He goes, I was right there. And I said, Abe, you misspelled that word.
He knows
He's
where
got
he
it.
was.
Uncle Mutt's Barbecue, folks. Today's a great day to go by and get brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey, all the side dishes. Get it to go. Drive through. Uncle Mutt's will put it in a big aluminum tin for you. You'll be happy. Take it home, stick it in the fridge. You can heat it up. Sometimes I heat it up 2 or 3 different times.
It's all good.
It's all good.
All good.
Uncle Mutt's is there for you. Reach out to Wint Services. It's generator season. You need Cummins, Kohler,
Generac,
Briggs
Briggs
and
and Stratton.
They've got all the brands. They've got it'll meet your needs. Whether you want to run, all I care about is
Whether you want to run it on propane, I bet you if you wanted to run it on diesel, they could do that.
No doubt.
And if you wanted it,
Gasoline,
I bet you there's even a propane diesel
combo rig.
that you could probably run just in case you run out of
BCS.
one or the other.
Absolutely. Natural gas. They have natural gas generators. The whole thing is you can say, I just want the AC in my refrigerator to work. Your neighbor might say, I want the whole house to light up. I want it to be like nothing ever happened. They can do that for you. They also can supplement that with solar panels and battery backups. Reach out to them and they'll design
And handle all your other electrical needs as well.
Absolutely. And they'll design a custom electrical program for your home. And don't forget Gray Barn Design. We save Cheryl the best for last,
6803.
920-6803. Reach out to Cheryl, make your next event eventful.
Yeah. You're gonna want your second wave party to be memorable.
We're still gonna have a Wade and Carter now I'm speaking in advocate. A Wade and Carter party soon. We're gonna have one.
We're gonna welcome our guest.
Well, wait, we've got to play the music that he's
It's in his contract. I know. He brought his contract with him because we didn't play it last week.
He's
So
always waving
it's
in our
there.
faces.
So here we go. Let's do it.
Spanning the
I
globe
love it.
to bring you the best in entertainment. It's the Brother Gary Moses Show.
Boys, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I love that, man. Thanks for the intro. Thanks for keeping the show going. We love it. Enjoy it.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. We're running crazy because tomorrow, I don't know, y'all probably off. Did you out there? UHB?
No, I work
Yeah.
all the time.
You're working and you don't have to go. Y'all coming here tomorrow? Y'all let your people know?
We've
Yeah.
already put in 412s this
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, that's it. So, all right. Well, I'm glad I got some good stuff for you. But before we go into the sports, let me give a few events. You know, the Miller Lite Blast Talk, I've already said it, has 180 days to reschedule it before that contract goes void.
Because and those fireworks will go bad. You
And the
can't
fireworks
just
Yeah.
keep
No,
it.
you can't just let him sit there on the shelf.
So, Miller
Come
Lite Blast Talk
unstable.
on hiatus.
Wait a
right
minute.
now.
We could store those fireworks at the Advocate.
Sure.
What could go wrong? You look up in 1 oh, I guess they are having the fireworks.
They fire from the top up there.
Yeah, they can come out of the 12th floor windows just as easy.
But with that, I got two other ones. Generals, they're playing right Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yep,
Angeles.
tomorrow, Brazos Valley Bombers.
3 days.
Oh, traditional good team.
Saturday is the annual Warriors weekend
Correct.
game with the jersey auction and all that. So come on out and support.
Dallas Keuchel starting for the Bombers.
Yeah, I love it. I got some stuff for you both boys coming up. Anyway, I want to mention the Generals, and that's through the weekend. The Healthplex is the official workout center for the Victoria Generals. So I see a bunch of the boys all the time, get to talk to them. We look forward to that always. And then we have one for the VFW, and they have a veterans families open house, veterans and families open house from 1 o'clock on, and until food runs out. They're giving free hamburgers, hot dogs, potato salad, baked beans for all the veterans. And I want you to know, buddy, there's some good folks coming down there. You don't have to come in; they'll serve you from the outside. You can come in; they'll social distance from the inside. It's all good. So there's a few things, and there's fireworks around the area. So check the site. A lot of them are still up.
I'm guessing Port Connor's still going to have theirs.
Anarchy down there. They do whatever they want.
Coletto's doing one. Port Connor's doing one. You've got Port Lavaca. That's on Friday night. Port Lavaca's doing theirs Friday.
Judging by all the traffic at the fireworks stands I passed going home on 87, nursery's going to be lit up on Friday.
I've seen it on both sides. You see our way and your way, Ash. Edna's doing one. Quero's doing one. They're all on now.
Having fireworks?
Having fireworks.
Come
Guess
on,
which one
man,
is it?
McCoy.
Too late now.
Now all those people are going to get sick and come to Victoria.
Victory Park's closed. You can't fire them out there. They're closing that.
Very
Summer
nice.
Half Moon Holidays, not doing it.
Torn Bale says Lake McQueenie's on.
There you go. Go ahead's off. Oswell's off. Now, HEB Plus always do their Independence Day parade. Your daughter works over there, and we're not doing that this year. Canceled till next year. There's some going and some that are not. And I gave you a few events right there that we have. So there's some stuff.
Tell me though, I know you got some sports in
I
the
do.
summer
I
because
got it.
NHL
I got it for
yesterday. A lot of reports Edmonton and Toronto are the hub cities. They got spooked by the spike in Vegas, so they're out of there.
by the spike.
And it's going to be Toronto and Edmonton, the two
Okay.
hub cities for the NHL.
I saw that. I figured you had that, but actually, I got the boys rivalry. What two teams, most bad blood between two teams back in the 90s and 2000? And they were in the United States, not in Canada. What two teams?
In the NHL?
In the NHL. Bad blood. St. Louis.
Chicago?
Blues won. Well, that's the bad boys now.
St. Louis back then?
St.
St. Louis and Detroit?
Detroit, you got it. St. Louis and Detroit. Bad
Dennis
blood.
Rodman on the ice.
Yeah, he went to the ice.
Right.
90s and 2000 was St. Louis and Detroit Red Wings. They said proximity and bad blood between the two. And then now it's St. Louis Blues and Chicago Blackhawks, bad blood.
Here's the thing. Calgary and Edmonton have had this rivalry as long as I've grown up
And Canada.
in Canada. My introduction to the Battle of Alberta was in the Canadian Football League, the Calgary Stampeders, Edmonton Eskimos. Hated them. Always had the Labor Day Classic.
Right.
Great
I learned a
game,
little about
exciting
regions.
game. That spilled over onto the ice with the Flames and the Oilers when they were in the NHL, and it has continued. We haven't switched rivalries like St. Louis and
Yeah.
Detroit and St. Louis and
went down to
Chicago.
Chicago Blackhawks. They're close, and it's in basket.
It's
know,
a
some of that-
contrived rivalry, right?
There you go.
Well, there's some. I mean, St. Louis has been in the NHL since '67. They were the first wave of expansion teams,
Like the San Diego Padres.
and they're there. But Detroit was good back then.
They were good.
St. Louis was pretty good back
I
then.
always check the box scores, even on hockey.
You
I
know,
checked it, man.
Detroit was winning a couple of cups back
I
then.
mean, actually,
But good or bad,
Right?
Good or bad, Edmonton and Calgary, just the two cities hate each other.
Yes, they
Because
do.
Gary would keep up in case he needed to
Yeah,
take a
just
little
like-
action on hockey to lay it off. You know, you
I
don't
was
know.
going to be last way later in my life, but I
Right,
didn't know
yeah,
some of this
right.
They
stuff.
had to.
Well, I got a little baseball, a little football. You love the football. I got Washington State in that one too.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Baseball. Tim Kirchin, ESPN now.
Yep.
Says Sandy Koufax, to me, he's one of the best pitchers ever.
Sure.
Sandy Koufax. He said trying to hit Sandy Koufax was like drinking a cup of coffee with a fork. I thought that was
I like
cute,
it.
man.
In the
I like
second
it.
half of his career.
And it's-
Because the first half of Koufax's career, he was getting nailed all over the
he
place.
came through though later. You
He
couldn't
was
touch him.
just
You couldn't touch him.
Tough.
Tough.
Yeah, mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said they talked to Johnny Manziel, and he's 27 now. Giving up, he said, "I'm giving up football career. Thing of the past." He said,
Boy, it was a good one.
I'm
that guy's name? What was the quarterback's name at, he was like 42 years old, played at Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Warfel. Didn't he win the Heisman too?
Warfel won the Heisman.
Yeah, him and Manziel, two just really prime examples
They
of
didn't do well.
what the Heisman is now tarnished.
Chris
Before we go to college
Yes.
football, overs and unders. Okay, you'll love these. Okay. Well, Tom Glavine says, best thing for Major League Baseball, boys, scenario for next year, 154 games and one extra round of playoffs. And he's right. Get an extra round. It gets people involved with the playoffs. I like that.
What do you think?
Extra round. Only 8 games less, but you do an extra week of
Tom Glavine. Every kid's a winner.
that's
Get a
what
ring.
Yeah, but you know what? You got 32 major league teams, 30 teams, and what right now? 6 make the play? No. How many make the playoffs? 8 make the playoffs?
They're putting extra this year, right? Anyway, came up with it, and I like extra playoffs though, just to keep more teams interested.
Players aren't going to go for it because they don't get paid for the playoffs.
There you go.
They pay for playoff money,
And you got a point there.
and will the owners technically want to pay them more for fewer games? Because if you're making $8 million a year for 162 games, now you're making $8 million a year for 154 games.
Right. And
You're paying
don't
them
know
more
about the
per game.
playoffs, and you don't know about the playoffs.
But the
That's
TV
the
money,
negative
the
side.
TV money would probably go up because you can sell the playoffs better. So the
Yeah, another playoff round. It might be
the
a
others would
wash.
be fine.
There's a plus right there. All right, one quick win football. Now I'm going to college football. I'll let you see what you know. Over unders. Okay, Cam Newton, New England Patriots. He already said it. He signed for 1 year. His incentives can take him up to $7.5 million as a backup.
Wow.
It's like what's our board for Dallas?
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, he can go up to $7 million too. So with incentives. So. All right, you ready? College football over and under regular season, based it on a 13-game season. 13 games.
Okay.
We don't know all the extras they're going to do. 13 games. Of course, Clemson's the highest rated, 11.5 over under. Clemson.
Are they going to win 11.5 or no?
Over 11.5 or under.
I'd probably
13
take
Over.
games.
Over.
I'm going over.
I would have to take the over.
Based on 13, they're going to have 12.
Let me give you a few of these before we get Texas A&M, and Washington State. Okay?
6.
All right.
All right. Ohio State, they're based it on 13 games, 11. They're ranked number 2.
I'll take
Under.
Ohio State. I'll take the over on that. I'll take the over.
All three of us over.
No, he took the under.
I think a 10 games. That's a 10-win season.
I'm going over with you.
Mr. Apocalypse.
Okay. Alabama, 10.5.
No, under. Alabama's
They're
on the
10-win
way back down.
season.
I'm thinking.
They're on the
10-2.
way back
I
down.
think you're right on that.
They are. They're on the way back down. The
Oklahoma.
new is on.
Yeah, they'll fall to 10 and then go back up.
Up on 10 to go.
Yeah, they're. You're right. Those teams, the teams you just mentioned, with the exception of Clemson, who's kind of
They're up.
Trevor Lawrence is really helping them.
He's good.
But OU does this. They do this. Texas does this, and A&M just does this.
Where did I give you those? Okay.
Right.
All right, Oklahoma, 10.5. That's the over under for 13.
No, I think they're going. I think they're
I think
going.
they're over.
I'm
I
hoping.
think they can win 11.
I think
If
they're
they beat our boys, they're going 11.
under.
All right, under Oklahoma because we're not Oklahoma.
We don't
fans.
like Oklahoma.
All right, Texas A&M, 9.5.
You know, that is
He
a
has one
spot on
team
deal
that has-
because you got 13 games. Now, here's the deal. They've got to play Alabama, Auburn, and LSU. So there's 3 of the games out of that 13. That drops you down to 10 mentally. All you're betting on now is, are they going to lose one of those games to Abilene Christian, North Texas? They
No.
play everybody but Victoria East. I'm not kidding you.
But they could lose to Ole Miss or whoever. I think they're 9-4. Under.
I did too. I'll take the
They've been
under as
nine,
well.
yeah.
I
Same
did
thing.
too.
They've been around 9, haven't they?
Yes,
The past
sir.
Few years. Texas, 9.5 again. They both are at 9.5.
I'll take the under.
Under.
If they go 9-4, I consider it a great season.
I'm going to go and pray 10. Okay, I'm going over. All right, here we go. Washington State, 7.5. Washington State.
Pat
7.5.
McDonald said, hurry, time is almost up. Ralph, Pat McDonald wants us to get off the air so she can listen to you. She said, hurry up, your time's almost up.
That's a tough one. New coach,
Where at? Baylor?
Washington State.
Washington State.
6.
What was it? 7.5?
7.5.
I think 8 wins.
I'll take the over.
I'm
Just to
going
I'll
be
take
over
the over just to be because I'm a homer and it's the case.
You know who's going to hurt this year? Baylor's going to hurt this year. They lost a lot of key people. LSU's going to suffer too. But Baylor lost a lot of key personnel, and they lost Matt Rule.
Real quick, baseball rules for 2020. We know the pitching thing. You got to face 3 batters. That one's in. That one's going to be here forever. The DH is now going to be in the National League for the shortened year.
Right.
I think this is one that probably needs to stick around.
The DH rule? Yeah, I like the
I like
DH.
it. I like it.
In this day and age, I mean, Verlander strikes out 15. That's a whole lot more impressive than Kershaw striking out 15 in the National League, because 3 or 4 of those have been against the pitcher
Exactly
who's
right.
up there just trying to not hurt his hands.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing we talked about was if you're going to limit a coach's ability, like let's say that Gary Moses is on base, is on deck, and I know he's batting left-handed and he's really leading the league, but I got to get this right-handed hitter out.
Right.
So I want to bring in my right-handed pitcher to face him, but I don't want that right-handed pitcher to face Moses because he's killing us. So if you're going to take me as the manager, the inability, if you're going to say you can no longer, he's got to face so many hitters. That's kind of the new rule. You've got to
face 3 hitters.
A relief pitcher's got to face 3 hitters. So now when I want to make a change, I've got to look down the lineup and go, gee, Moses comes up second in that inning. I got to let my right-handed guy face him, and he's not. Moses kills him. So now the strategy shifts. If I've got to do that and I've got to leave a pitcher in, then I have no problem with the DH being permanent.
There you go.
Because why not? Why would you want to make,
I kind of like it.
I do. It's better baseball. Steve Carlton was a good hitter in our day.
Carlton could hit.
Yeah, but
Dwight Gooden was a good hitter, but think about it. They're few and far between.
right. It's usually, be honest. We sit there and go, the pitcher comes up second.
I'll go to the bathroom now and
Yeah.
make sure go get a beer and
that's what Canadians do.
and then the other rule that I'm not sold on, and it works in softball. I'm not knocking that, but they've basically taken the softball international tiebreaker rule, and they're going to start extra innings with a guy on second base in baseball. And I know what they're trying to do. They don't want an 18-inning game in a 60-game season, and because they're trying to play 60 games in 66 days or whatever. So they're trying to speed it up and not have ultra marathon games, which are fairly rare anyway. But I don't know that I like this for baseball. As a somewhat of a purist.
Purist too.
As we wrap up our celebration of Canada Day, which was yesterday, one last little thing. Even though baseball is America's pastime, and even though baseball has transcended well into places like Montreal and still
He's killing you.
and still in Toronto.
Favorite team.
It's still in Toronto. It's the Hawk. The Hawk used to roam the outfield there.
If the Canadian dollar wasn't so bad, the Expos would still be around.
It is a little known fact that because of the cultural differences between the United States and Canada, when you go to a baseball game in Canada, you've got hot dogs and all that, but there is a huge concession for booze. Okay, huge
Did you
concession.
insinuate something?
No, sir. What they've done is they've eliminated the men's restrooms because all the Canadians have no problem just peeing themselves at a ball game. It's a cultural thing. You'll see the Canadian gentlemen.
We catheter up.
Just let it run down and outside the old Adidas
into a bag.
There's drains down at the bottom of the
I'm
stadium.
gonna put you out of this. Happy 4th to
Hey,
everybody.
we love you, Brother Gary.
God bless you. Thank
If
you.
we're here tomorrow, we're here. Ash hasn't told me yet.
Yeah.
But
Look at the face.
right,
Cliffhanger
for
for
tomorrow,
tomorrow.
hanging for tomorrow. We love you guys, Brother G. We love you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great 4th.
You too.
God bless.
Bye, America. And Canada. Ralph, you really don't care if we go over there. You hear him?
And the lady wants to, she's probably not a sports fan. I love Pat, but she's not a sports fan. Skating is
No, you hear Ralph? I go, Ralph, you don't really care if we go over there. He goes, not as long as you keep paying.
Hold on. We're not off yet.